hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And it is Judd's Hockey Show. Happy New Year to all of you watching. We're recording this the day after the Wild was swept by the Winnipeg Jets in a weekend series. It's Judd. It's AJ Fredrickson. And let's get right to it, AJ. I think we did a post-game show after the Wednesday night game against the Red Wings last week, in which the Wild won. And we said, hey, you know what? Huge 2 games. This team lost a lot of points early in the season. This was a chance to get some points back. We talked about, a win, like a split. We talked about 3 points in the end. The Wild gets swept in regulation in both. So the Jets, who are a very good team, it's very clear that they're good. They get 4 points. The Wild gets none. The Wild now, as we have only the Winter Classic today on Monday, New Year's Day, which is obviously in Seattle, and they're playing the Golden Knights. The Wild has 36 points. They're a point behind Seattle going into today. They're a point behind St. Louis. They're a point behind Edmonton. They are 4 points behind the second wild card in the Arizona Coyotes, and they're only 1 point ahead of Calgary, who's coming to town. All right. Knowing all that, what was your impression of the 2 games? The one on Saturday afternoon in Winnipeg, in which Kirill Kaprizov got hurt, and then, of course, the one coming back on Sunday afternoon at the X.
Well, how about a disaster of a weekend? I don't know if it could have been worse, frankly. Like, your superstar player gets hurt, misses Sunday. Marc-Andre Fleury, trying to celebrate his 1,000th career NHL game, loses at home. And on top of all that, you drop not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 points to a division rival when you're playing catch up as far behind as you are. And we're coming up on the midpoint of the season here in the next week or two. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure it could have been much worse of a weekend. I would say it's frustrating because I think they showed even on Sunday they could play with that Jets team. It's just what's the thing that crept up and hindered their chances in that game? Penalties. As soon as you tie the game up, you head to the penalty kill, and I think it was like 11 seconds in, Jets score 3-2. That's all she wrote. So I think I said on Wednesday, 4 points would have been, or not 4 points, 3 points would have been like ecstatic for the weekend. Anything more than that is great. 2 was kind of the minimum I needed, and that's what I was kind of expecting. Saturday, they showed a little fight towards the end. They were kind of picking it up. And then they came out Sunday in that first 20 minutes, Judd. They looked like they were going to do exactly what I had hoped, what I expected. And then I don't know what happened in between periods. Winnipeg got a little, they got a little fire under their stomachs and just happened to take control of the game. And the Wild really weren't able to really regain that. That being said, that first 20 minutes, and I think they talked about this on the Bally Sports broadcast, was the way that the Wild wanted to play in that first 20 is not, it's hard to do that for a full 60 minutes. But the fact that you got that momentum and didn't hold on to it to then play whatever game you wanted to the remaining 40, it's frustrating because then you drop all 4 points on the weekend, you walk away with nothing, and now you're still playing catch up even in a bigger hole than you once were.
Yeah, I didn't like how they played Saturday. I didn't like that game. I didn't think that they played well. John Hines, who's not going to come out and really criticize his team, essentially said that. I liked what they came back with on Sunday, but you're right. I mean, again, the PK, they give up 2 power play goals. The Jets win based upon that, essentially. And, yes, it's frustrating. But I guess my thing is this, too, with this team. And this is the problem. This is the problem in today's league with getting behind the 8 ball so much, right? In the first month plus, first 2 months. Every game's a playoff game now. So, you can't look at a lost 4 points and say, well, it's a lost 4 points, but come on, it's only January 1st. It's only December 3rd. Every game is a playoff game for this team now. And so, at some point in time, the hill's going to get too much to climb. Like you think about this team right now, if I'm not mistaken, AJ, is 7-3 in its past 10 games. Like you think about the success with Hines, they're now 11-5, I think. But when we talked after the Wings game, they were 11-3 with John Hines, and they're still not that close to a playoff spot. Like they were getting closer, but now they've fallen back again. So I guess the issue that I have is the margin for error is now so thin. Like you just don't have that. And a bad period, a bad game is a huge problem because your start was so bad. And that's where, At the end of the day, I don't know if this is going to be a playoff team or not, but I do know this. If they are a playoff team, they're going to be absolutely positively gassed by the time the playoffs start because they dug themselves, and we've talked about this before, but such a monumental hole that a series like this, two defeats to a Central Division rival, is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and the portion that you mentioned with like every part of every game the rest of the season now is essentially a playoff game. You got to have it, like it's so imperative to have that good start to the season so you don't wind up in this hole. The Dallas Stars, now the Winnipeg Jets, like they're feeling a little comfy because when you look at it here, let's say you're going to look for that locked in 3 spot in the Western, or excuse me, in the Central Division. Dallas and Winnipeg currently are tied there at 48 points. Colorado's right there at 49, but the Wild sit with 36. So you're telling me that over the next 40 and some change games, you need the Minnesota Wild to pretty much win 6 more games than the Dallas Stars, the Winnipeg Jets, and the Colorado Avalanche, along with having the teams that are kind of right on the bubble there in the wild card, Nashville Predators. Coyotes, I think, maybe will fall off a cliff at some point, but Edmonton's only going to get better, I feel like, as the season progresses. You're going to have so many things go in your favor that not every team can lose every single night. You know,
right.
Teams are going to win, and they're going to pick up points here and there, even in overtime. So the difference that they need to make up, I don't know if it's insurmountable yet because it's still over half the season to go. But like you said, that turning point for, hey, you are up against it is right around the corner. So the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, like you almost need to go unbeaten. It's just,
and they sort of did.
And that's the thing.
And they
didn't really like chip away at that gap, so to speak. So it's just frustrating because they had that success, and now you drop 2 and 11-3 sounds a hell of a lot better than 11-5 under John Hines. So yeah, they're going to have to really turn it on and have a lot of luck go their way if they really want to get into a playoff picture here before the season ends.
And part of the problem too now, injuries again. So they started to get guys back, right? Like Hartman, who's played great and I love how he's being used. This is how he should be used. Don't make him center the top line. That's not really him. But now he's on the line. He scored goals in like 5 consecutive games. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
But all of that being said, Brodin still out, which is, by the way, killing you.
Yeah.
John Merrill on Saturday was so unplayable that he got benched for Sunday. But because John Merrill's been so bad, people aren't talking about Goligoski's unplayable. Like yesterday, again, turning the puck over consistently. And I understand he was at one time a good player, and he still, I don't think in players' minds they realize that they've declined so much. So Goligoski's making plays that 5 to 8 years ago, or I don't know, 3 years ago, perhaps he could still make, but he can't make them now. And so like yesterday, that was a problem. But Brodin out, Zuccarello still out. And now on Saturday, Gustafsson leaves the game after 2 periods. And we don't know when he's going to be back. John Hines said no update on him until Tuesday. And even then, I don't expect much. Yeah. And the real problem, obviously, was the Brendan Dillon cross-check on Kirill Kaprizov on Saturday, which was unnecessary. I understand Dillon was mad because Kaprizov threw a reverse hit on, which is nice. He's strong as hell. Yeah. And Kirill can knock you off but that second cross check, you could see the pain there, and we don't know how long he's out. And when you need every point possible, and Kirill Kaprizov had finally gotten hot. Like he was not himself until the last 2 weeks, AJ, and then he got hot. Mm-hmm. I hated that cross check. It didn't turn into a penalty, but even if it is, it doesn't make up for his loss. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you're going to overcome the absence of Kirill Kaprizov if he is, and we have no idea, but if he's out for any amount of time, because I don't think that type of slack just gets picked up.
Can the league do something about cracking down on this nonsense? I thought they did. Maybe it was last year. And then
2 years ago.
2 years, thank you. Yeah, but
in front of the net, you couldn't cross-check guys.
Oh, I see, in front of the net. So in the corner, it's fine.
Oh yeah. Well, and he cross-checked him twice. The first one didn't phase Kirill, so he took his stick and I think he stuck it in his kidneys.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It was on the kidney. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm with you. I hate that hit, and I don't know. So here's what I don't get about the code. Okay.
Yeah.
Middleton fights Dylan, and I appreciate that. Jake, took that
Yeah,
upon himself.
sure.
And then we start the game on Sunday with Patty Maroon engaging Adam Lowry, a couple of St. Louis kids.
Yeah.
And that was the payback. Like, I'm sorry, but if it's me, there's a skill position player on the Jets who's going to feel some wrath here.
Yeah.
Like what? A fight between two big guys? That's not the answer. That's not the answer. Your whole thing. If you hurt Kirill, I'm going after one of your skilled guys. I'm sorry. I know that sounds barbaric, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I wish that
and they won't do it now, by the way.
No. Now that it's passed, absolutely
no.
not.
But it's not going to happen anyway. This league now, like there's no retribution. Not enough.
No, and that's the thing. Like, Frank, with it too, Winnipeg didn't have their main guy Kyle Connor in on Sunday, maybe not even Saturday. If my mind,
because he got a cheap shot like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
total cheap shot.
But I don't want to say that you have to. Like, I hate that. I hate saying that. I feel like they need to even it up by an eye for an eye. Kirill is just such an impactful player that, frankly, if you are I think he's like a 30-something-year-old defenseman, and you're 6'4", Brendan Dillon. You have 23 pounds on Kirill Kaprizov listed on NHL.com, so you maybe more, maybe less. But if you get reverse hit, that's on you. You have to be a man and swallow that. You know what? Be ready. Be ready for that. It's a physical game. You're not going to let some 5'10" Russian push you around. I get it. But to throw a temper tantrum and go into the corner and just deliberately take the shaft of your $300 stick and jam it twice into his kidneys. Are you kidding me? Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, it sucks that there's really no way to there's no even exchange rate there. You're not going to go out and, David Perron somebody across the face. Cause then the Wild get punished more so for that in the long run. But I don't know. I hate saying that they need to even it up, but it feels unfair that now twice in the past calendar year against the Jets, Kirill has gotten injured. I'm getting really sick of it. And we just got him back for, like you said, 2 weeks. Who knows how long until that ramps up again now, because we don't really know the extent with the lack of information, but it's really frustrating because it's just, he is, to steal a line from Phil, he is the drink that, or the straw that stirs the drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that actually is a line from Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson. Okay,
he's the one that said, "I'm the straw." In a big sport magazine expose that pissed off the entire clubhouse. Reggie once said, "I am the straw that stirs the drink," and he wasn't wrong about that. Yeah, I'm very frustrated by this. He's their best. He's their best player. He was really picking things up. And, and look, if he's back on Tuesday, okay. But if he's not, now the Gustafson injury is also of concern.
Oh, big
time. Because this is huge. Because first of all, Jesper Wallstedt is out right now, so he's not playing. I still don't think they would call him up. So I don't think that if he was, they do not want him to play in the National Hockey League, in my opinion, until next season. Mm-hmm. That can be debated if that's right or wrong, but it seems to be the organizational philosophy. McIntyre has come up now to back up Fleury. And we could talk about it. The Flowers 1000th game was awesome. It's just so cool to watch. But all of that being said, Marc-Andre Fleury right now, at I believe the tender age of 39, is a backup. Gustafson being out would create some huge problems, because if you have to ask Fleury to play consistently, and keep in mind they play Tuesday, they play Thursday, they play Saturday, I think. So we got a lot of games, or you have to go to a minor league backup. I don't want to say it's as big as Kirill being out, but it might be as big as Kirill being out, because I don't know how much of a workload Fleury can take at that age, or it's going to get to a point where you're simply asking way too much of him.
Yeah, unless it's something like he's going to miss maybe a portion of this week just because he's sore, he tweaked something, and they just, he's on the mend for a few days. If he misses anywhere near significant time, this team is in trouble. This club is in trouble. You're essentially asking a grandfather in sports terms to bear the load of what needs to be done by a 26-year-old, 27, 28-year-old. We've seen him flash like his best still this season, which is amazing. It's so fun to watch. 1000th career game. I mean, it's fun to be in a sense, part of that history as a fan rooting for the Wild, but you can't expect him to bear this massive load in the upcoming weeks just because, unfortunately, the truth is you're not getting his best every single night. There are still the slip ups, and we saw that even this weekend. He does make the occasional flashy save, and you're like, wow, that is, prime Fleury right there. But at the same time, you turn your head, and 5 minutes later, okay, that one trickled in. No clue how that didn't get stopped. So is he still going to win them games here and there? Yes, absolutely, because he's Marc-Andre Fleury. But at the same time, he's going to put them in a spot other nights just because he's not what he's just older. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
He's just lost his step, and there's no blame in that. That's just what happens. That's the natural law of physics and sports. You get older, your play declines. It's supposed to, at least. Some guys seem to get better with age, but to have now your AHL guy and Zane McIntyre come up, I'd be interested to see if it is significant time. How does John Hynes tackle that? Because it's pretty obvious you can't rely on Fleury to do the starter role all the time. But does he go with a matchup where it's a tougher game? We're already missing Kirill, hypothetically. We're already missing Fleury. So do we want to start McIntyre in a sense of we're going to wave the white flag so that the next 2 days later is an easier matchup? We need to pray and hope that that's where we get our 2 points, or do we still go head to head and give our best goalie against, a Swayman or you know what I mean? Like a Hellebuck.
Well, you got Tuesday is the Flames, right? So, and
yes.
Markstrom's back now. So I'm guessing Fleury starts that game. And I don't think John Hynes, much like the Vikings, I don't think the goal here is until the Vikings play the Packers on Sunday night, I don't think the goal is to wave the white flag. And so I think, but it is a big question because you can't ride Flower. Like if you do, I think it's going to be a disaster and it's not fair to him. I will defend him. As far as the 1000th game goes. So he joins a company that includes 3 goaltenders besides him. Brodeur, who was obviously unbelievable, Patrick Waugh, and Luongo. And this was discussed fairly extensively post-game on Sunday, Age, in the locker room. But for a skater to play 1000 games is impressive. Like you get the golden stick, it's impressive. For a goaltender to do it is damn near unfathomable.
Yeah.
Like to think and to do it now at Fleury's age when he's bounced around a bit as well. And it's so interesting to hear his teammates talk about him because the only thing I've covered that I can sort of compare it to was when the Vikings, and it didn't work out well in that case, but when the Vikings obtained Moss in 2010, brought him back. And I remember Percy Harvin was almost in awe. Like it was like watching a kid watch his hero. Cause he's like, I'm in the same locker room as this guy that changed the game. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I get the same feeling from the skaters. So not the goaltenders necessarily, but I get the same feeling from the skaters, Goudreau, Foligno, guys like that with Fleury, where they almost look across the room and they are just in awe of this guy who has won cups, who's been around forever, who is seen as an ambassador to the game. And I thought it was cool. I think it was during the first stoppage on Sunday when they scraped the ice, they put a tribute up to Fleury. He got a huge ovation. I just keep going. I always revert back to this. Wild fans appreciate this because it's going to be gone soon. And to watch a guy who has made such a difference in the game, who's beloved, and also has been so spectacular, it is really cool. And playing 1000 games and seeing that was a really neat experience.
And to do it as a goalie, like you said, if you're a forward, if you start your career decent and maybe you're a top 6 guy, but then you just find that role and you're consistent and you're just a role player and whatnot, you can rack up a lot of games. And granted, getting to 1000 as a role player would be tough still. You have to be good at one point or another, but you're getting every single game essentially if you stay healthy. As a goalie, you're getting, let's say 60, sometimes at the most ish, in today's game. So, and that's if you really are the kind of the bulwark of a goaltender. So you not only have to be a starter who's good, but you have to be consistently. And he's been doing this since 2004, I want to say.
Yeah, he was. He went before he went in the draft before Crosby. Is that right?
Yeah, I want to say
I'll
04.
find it.
I
'Cause
might be wrong, but to do this now for
I think you're
over
right.
20 years, it's incredible, because when you think about it, this is really in last season, it was kind of a 1A, 1B situation where they were rotating, and maybe towards the latter portion of the season, he regressed into that backup role. But this is mainly the first season up until a possible injury for Philip Gustafson, where Marc-Andre Fleury has been a backup. Like, to be a starter in this league, be good.
Yep.
It's incredible. Like, he's got that, and we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he should be the first ballot without a doubt. But
Oh, he won't.
that
He'll walk.
that legendary aura, like you said, you just see him, and you get to feel that it's just that hockey greatness. It's so weird because really the Wild have never had a guy like that come through, even late stages. Like I remember as a kid, I was in shock when Owen Nolan came here for like a season or two,
Right.
But yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury is still to get to 1,000 games. Like, that is an incredible accomplishment that shouldn't be overlooked. And like I haven't really, it hasn't sunken in fully for me yet that he is officially a member. We're watching this on a nightly basis. I think I'm still taking it for granted, but eventually I need to tell myself, hey, like, you really need to appreciate this.
And the remarkable thing about the guy too is he's so humble. He's so understated.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost that game yesterday, and you could tell he's pissed off. He's a big time competitor. Like, you don't achieve the success that Flower has without being a big competitor. But he's also gracious to everybody. He's also he's got part of what makes him endearing is he's got this honest oh shucks approach to things. Like he could be an egomaniac, right? He could be a really weird guy. Goaltenders sometimes are, not as much as they used to be. But this guy is everything. It's just like appreciative, and I love being here, and I love my teammates, and his teammates love him. And yeah, 1,000 games for a goaltender is just off the charts. Okay. I want to get to the upcoming schedule next because it's not simple. It's not impossible, but it's not simple. But before I do that, I want to talk about my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. All right. January 1st is here. We're recording this podcast on January 1st. And guess what? January 1st is where a lot of folks say it's time to lose the weight. It's time to create a new me, get into all those clothes that don't fit. Livia is going to help you do exactly that. And here's the best part too. Their dietitians and nutritionists are going to help you keep the weight off. That's the most important thing. Join now. And if I got an offer for you, 3 months, your first 3 months are free. That's right. Free. That's an incredible offer. That means you can lose a lot of weight. And those first 3 months are going to be your trial run to find out what a difference this program can make. 855-GO LIVEA, Livia.com, Livia, LIVEA.com. Okay, upcoming schedule, AJ Fredrickson. Tuesday night, Calgary, which is right behind you. Markstrom is back. Thursday night, you're still home. You've got Tampa Bay at that point. And then after that, you go to Columbus on Saturday, which should be a win, but I hate to say that because as soon as I do, I'll be wrong. And then you come back and on January 8th and January 10th, home and home against the Dallas Stars. So again, and here's the thing: a win over Columbus and Tampa Bay, obviously you want those points, but Western Conference opponents, and in Calgary's case, you are competing with them directly for a potential wild card spot. Both teams out of those top two spots for the wild card right now. But Calgary and then 2 games against Dallas, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, the Calgary one, that's a team that's getting, like, I'm hoping there's a little rust there from Markstrom so the Wild can maybe squeak a couple in that, they get lucky with the hockey gods and are able to get a lead early and then just kind of put it away, because that's a game where after this weekend, you need to bounce back, and that needs to start with a win over Markstrom, over the Flames, who I think have some like solid players, but they're not like you even without Kirill, even with Marc-Andre Fleury starting after this weekend, you should be able to get a win there. Just it comes down to the discipline. Tampa, I mean, they're still Tampa Bay. Like, they're not the powerhouse that they were a couple of years ago, but they still have a great cast of players there. So like
The
that'll be
East
tough.
is the East is tough too.
That'll
Like
be tough.
You're exactly right. Yes, no question about it.
I mean, the thing that you have to just keep in mind is you need to build whatever momentum against Columbus so that when you have that home and home, it's the same thing that we saw this weekend. Must win. And now based on the result we had, you cannot drop points. You have to at least get 3.
That's a great point about Tuesday's game now too. And I know there's a lot of season left, but you need a regulation win on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to give up. Like if you win it in the 3-on-3 overtime or a shootout, you need a regulation win. You do not want to be giving Calgary a point on your home ice at this point in time. Like at some point in time, this has to transition to you just start to get points and not give up points. And I know it sounds rough, but the reality is, to go back to the top of the show, you put yourself in a position where there is a lot of catching up to do, and even a slight hiccup now really hurts you.
Oh yeah. Just being in division, I'd say the home and home with Dallas is arguably a little more important, but it's a better team. So it's going to be tough to say, hey, you can't drop any points there. You have to just get 2 regulation wins, especially with one being down in Dallas. So you know how raucous that bar can be, especially frankly, after last year's playoff bout, how they're going to have a little bit of a grudge against the Wild. And I feel like that club is going to bring it to a different level. So Calgary, it all comes down to regulation wins, and you need a regulation win against the Flames. If you drop one against Tampa Bay, I can live with that, but then you're going to have to rattle off those next 3. Columbus, if you lose to Columbus in any fashion, we need to have a serious conversation. Like, and of course, like you said, that'll be the night that Johnny Gaudreau puts up a 4-point performance, and Igor Chinikov is going to find the back of the net twice, because why wouldn't he?
And that cannon, we hear that cannon like 5 times, and it's a pain in the ass. That is the most alarming thing possibly in sports. The Vikings shoot off some cannons or something when they score touchdowns. But yeah, the Blue Jackets, if on TV it comes through, so I can only imagine what it's like in that building. But you're right, and it starts on Tuesday against Calgary, and you after you lost 4 points to the Jets, I think you need to get 2 points, and I think you need to get 2 points in 3 periods of play. So
yes, yeah. If you're gonna lose, just don't have it be because of penalties. Make them just make them be a better team, because that's to me the frustrating part about some of these past handful of losses under John Hines is it's just penalties that keep putting them behind the 8 ball.
That's a season-long theme too. I mean, that was
it
the
has
case
been,
Dean, and your penalty kill at that time was awful. And they gave up I'm looking here. The Jets were 1 of 5 on the power play on Sunday, but I mean, to your point, I think it was 12 seconds into Middleton's penalty. So all right, sir, great stuff. Appreciate all of you who joined us again. Happy New Year. We will be back soon. Plenty more Judd's Hockey Show, good or bad, to come. And subscribe to all the good stuff that Score North puts out there. Purple Daily, Flagrant Howls, Judd's Hockey Show. I could go on and on, but I'm going to run, and so is Age. See you later.